Welcome to this video where I'll show you how to create questions in a question bank on Moodle and then create a quiz out of that can be announced to the students and made open in a particular time window where they can answer and the questions can be auto evaluated using the numerical answers or the multiple choice answers that you provide. Okay, so the idea here is normally you could just go ahead and create a quiz directly, right? For example, all you have to do here is you know go to your Moodle page, turn editing on, right? And let me just create a new topic here called quiz, right? And I'll add an activity or a resource, and I could technically go ahead and just add a quiz directly to this, right? And after that you can start populating questions. Okay, so let me call this quiz 1 and test quiz. Okay, so you could set the timing of these quizzes, right? You could, for example, open the quiz at a particular time, let's say on 4th April between 14, right? Between 14, and I can close the quiz at maybe, let me give 60 minutes for the quiz, right? And when the time expires, open attempts are automatically submitted. Okay, so then you can come here and layout. I would say you can say new page for every question, right? Or you could put all the questions on one page. I leave this to you. It depends on what kind of quiz you want to give here, right? And this is important, review options, right? So point is immediately after the attempt, right? Uh, they can see the attempt whether the answer is correct. So this is not a good thing to have if you want to set a quiz, right? So I would say you uncheck all of these, right? uh, and when the quiz is open, they should still not be able to see all of this, right? During the attempt they should be able to see uh, the attempt and stuff like that. After the quiz is closed, they should be able to see the attempt, whether it's correct, the marks and all that, but they should not be able to see these answers and other things while the quiz is happening. Okay, so that is the basic setting that you have to do, and then you save and you return to the course. Okay, so now there is quiz 1. If you quiz on this, if you click on this, you can edit the quiz. Okay, and by the way, if by any chance you do not see the edit quiz right there, right, which is the case, which will be the case after you add questions, you can scroll down and click on this edit quiz here, right, where you will come back to the same window. Okay, now you could choose to go ahead and add new questions from here, where you just populate your questions and all that, right? Or you could populate from a question bank. I would strongly recommend creating a question bank of questions and then filling in this from the particular question bank. Okay, the reason is the question bank can be stored and used for further future attempts, and that is a more useful option rather than just creating one quiz now and then being done with it. Okay, so the idea is after you create this quiz, you go back and you go to click on question bank. Okay, now before you start, I would again strongly recommend that you start creating categories. For example, you can create a category with various topics, right? The parent category will be your subject code EE6361. That's my subject code, and I will say uh, SRAMs, right? So then I will say basic 60 cell, right? And you could add a few more: read, write and hold margins. Okay, and then I just say add category. Okay, so what you see here is the new category gets added here. Okay, and you can now populate questions into this particular category. Okay, so you now again go back to your questions, and I will now say create a new question. Okay, so you could, for example, create a multiple choice question. Okay, I'll show you how to create a multiple choice, multiple select, and a numerical type of question. And the category, I'll put it under the suitable category that I want, and you give the name, right? SRAM sense amp, right? So then I can type out my question. If not a concern, an SRAM, I can now go here and populate my choice 1, choice 2, and so on. Still requires a sense amp, right? And this is not true, so I just leave this as it is. Now does not require a sense amp, right? I'll just keep two choices, and this is the correct answer, right? So I say 100% for this. This is multiple choice, and remember, it means that only one answer can be correct. If you want multiple select, then you have to say multiple answers allowed here. Okay, and then you can apportion the marks appropriately. For example, choice 1 could be 33%, another choice could be 33%, and so on, right? But you have to give the choices enough marks so that they add up to 100 eventually. Okay, and then I say save changes, and so I have added a new question, right? So now I will add one more question for a numerical type answer, right? So SRAM sizing, right? If the PMOS pull up is of pull up width is let me say 100 nanometer, then the pull down NMOS size should be, right? And I got to also specify in what units, in nanometers, right? In nanometers, the answer is basically 160 nanometers, right? So I will just say 160, and the answer is, this is 100%, and I can also specify an error, right? So if you want the answer to be within like 1%, then I can say I can specify some number here. Okay, and I think this has to be an absolute error. It's not a percentage, so you can specify that it has to be within 1. Okay, but usually you can just specify the exact number and not worry about this. So you again save changes here, and I have added two questions, SRAM sense amp and SRAM sizing. So now I go back to my quiz, right, that I created, and I say edit quiz from here, and I add a question from a question bank. What is the question? I go to the category SRAM, I pick these two questions, and I add them. Right, now I can click on this and set the marks. So this could be 2 marks, right? So this could be 2 marks, and the first one, because it's a multiple choice, could just be 1 mark. Totally the marks will be 3 marks, and you can also shuffle it so that each student will see a different question at a different time. Similarly, if you looked at this particular, so you can click on this, you will see what the question is, right? How the question looks. If performance is not a concern and SRAM still requires a sense amp, does not require a sense amp, and so on, right? So all this is exactly how the student will see it, right? And you are done, and after this you just save, right? And you can now come back to your quiz, right? You click on the quiz and you can do a preview of the quiz, right? You have, of course, 1 hour. So I can now enter my answers, right? Uh, does not require. So note that the options have been shuffled as well. And I say finish attempt. And you can just say submit all and finish. Okay. So clearly you will not be able to see the marks now because the time is not yet done. You will be able to see the marks only after it is done, right? So you can finish the review and be done with it. If you want to go back and edit the quiz and add more questions, you could do it again by scrolling down and doing edit quiz on this, right? Where you can add more questions and so on. Okay. Thank you.